of council tonight. I welcome our member of the gallery and the councillors to this meeting, and the public is advised that it is council policy to record the proceedings of the meetings of council on digital media to assist in the preparation of minutes and to ensure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussion of meetings is available. This audio recording is authorised by the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Tomagina people, and to pay our respect to those that have passed before us, their history and their culture. And I open the meeting at 6 p.m. Item 1 is record of attendance. There are no apologies, or leave of absence previously approved. Item 2, confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. There is a recommendation before you, councillors. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts, could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hyland, seconded. Any corrections to the minutes are to be identified and agreed upon at this point prior to taking a vote to adopt the minutes. Having read the minutes, could you please advise if there are any amendments or corrections for this particular item? No corrections or amendments. I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 3, declarations of interest. Councillor, an agenda item number. If there is any councillor who has a declaration of interest, Councillor Raw.
Yes, 9.10, the Walker Street realignment and addressing.
Thank you, Councillor Raw. Staff, are there any staff that have a conflict of interest or they wish to declare an interest? No, there are no more, so we'll move on to item 4. Councillors' announcements and report. 4.1, announcements by the Mayor. I have none, apart from saying that our permission to trespass has been an exceptionally successful event for our winter, so I congratulate all those that have participated, including Mr Spears with his art exhibition. 4.2, Mayor's Communications recommendation, that Council note the Mayor's Communications. Could I have a mover for that, please?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts, could I have a seconder, please?
Second.
Councillor Johnson, are there any questions that anyone has for this particular item? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 4.3, reports by delegates. I have not received any, and notification of council workshops. The recommendation is that council note the following workshops. Could I have a mover for this motion, please? Councillor Hyland, could I have a seconder? Councillor Bramich seconded the motion. Are there any comments or questions regarding this item? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 5, public questions and statements. 5.1, responses to public questions taken on notice from previous meeting. None have been received. 5.2, public questions received in writing. 5.2.1, Mr Blucher, Aldina Landcare, a question about Hemlock with an officer's response. 5.3, public questions without notice. 5.4, public statements received in writing. We've not received any at this stage, but 5.5, public statements without notice. At this point, I will read a message for anyone who is going to make a statement this evening. The Council encourages community participation in its meetings through the opportunity for public questions and statements. Consistent with Council's core values, councillors and staff strive to ensure all people are treated with respect and integrity. We expect our residents and ratepayers to apply similar standards in their dealings with Council. As Mayor, it is my responsibility to maintain the orderly conduct of Council meetings and to determine whether a question or statement is out of order due to the use of offensive, objectionable or defamatory expressions. I remind everyone that these meeting procedures should be noted. Particularly, a maximum of 3 questions may be asked per person. Any parts to questions are considered questions. all questions to be asked before a response is provided. There is a time limit of 3 minutes per person to ask those questions. Once a question is answered, there is to be no debate on that question. Public statements are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person, and there is to be no questions or discussion related to a statement. I ask members of the public to show proper consideration and courtesy in their comments. So, Mr. Spears, would you like to come forward, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. I'd like to make a short statement in regards to item 9.10 on tonight's agenda, the proposed realignment addressing of Waratah Wynyard. I'd really like to congratulate council staff in putting together the report and the background work they have done to present the recommendation, which is the option of June Close as the datum point to council tonight, which maintains all current addresses without change. While this may not seem to be a big thing to people outside of our street, particularly east of Dart Street, it is really heartening to see the council has been able to listen to residents' concerns and consult with us directly on this matter. I'm hopeful of seeing this matter resolved tonight and hope that there is unanimous support from councillors for the recommended course of action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spears. Moving on to item 7, matters raised by councillors. 7.1, responses to councillor questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. G West, fire hazard behind Hill Street subdivision. A question from Mr. West and with an officer's response. 7.1.2, councillor Bramich, Fossey River facilities upgrade with a response.
Thank you, Mayor.
No discussion at this point, Councillor Bramich. Thank you, Councillor Bramich. And 7.1.3, Councillor Roberts, Waratah Cenotaph. A question from Councillor Roberts with an officer's response. 7.2, councillor questions received in writing. 7.3, councillor questions without notice. Councillor Bramich.
Sorry for jumping the gun. I'm chomping at the bit a little bit. Thanks, council staff, for doing this bit of homework, and I don't necessarily agree with some of the comments from State Growth. I would like to see us invite them along to a workshop, and so we can express our concern about the toilet being just up the road a bit from the Waratah turn-off. Alright, you could say there's toilets in Waratah. Yes, there is, but if you're driving heavy vehicles, there's nowhere to go or turn to the toilets. And I have done it myself. I've had to pull up the side of the road somewhere and try and fit in between the tyres of the truck or the guide posts and have a wee. But if we've got that toilet out at that junction, don't matter which side of the road it goes. But if we've got that toilet out that junction, it'll keep everybody happy, I would have thought. And I'm not an experienced traveller, but I guess if I got up to the Flossie Information Centre and sees up at Waratah, I don't like turning back. And I reckon a lot of people's like that. And as far as I'm saying that council have to pay for it, well, I don't agree with that either. But I would like the opportunity to have them come along and so we can put these concerns to them.
So, Councillor Bramich, your question is?
Can staff write to State Growth or ring State Growth to invite them along to a council workshop so we can express our concerns and hear their concerns?
Thank you, Councillor Bramich.
Sorry, but that's all right, thank you.
Councillor Courtney, do you have a question?
Sorry, through you, Meg. Perhaps I can answer that question so we can record that in the minutes. And the answer is yes, we can organise that workshop for you, Councillor Bramich, so we'll extend an invitation.
Councillor Courtney.
Question through you to the General Manager. Is there any chance, I would imagine that we haven't heard back from the Ombudsman about the whistleblowers question, any chance we could ask 2 further questions? I'm in a number of whistleblower groups and we're having trouble getting responses to a request for a couple of simple questions, wondering if we can do it as a council. Since the inception of the whistleblowers protection, how many people have been protected? If we could ask that question of the Ombudsman, like how many people have used the Act and been protected by the Act since its inception? And if the assessment for a PID isn't done, are there ramifications? That's the first two questions. Third question, is there any chance we could bring to a workshop parking for planning in our area? Because Wynyard's growing, well, like our municipality is growing really, really quickly, and we've got a council across the river that got $17.3 or $17.6 million to upgrade their CBD without plans. So I don't know what grant application that was, but can we get a bit of a look in on that grant application and actually have a plan for parking for our area, for our municipality moving forward, with all the people that are moving here, the subdivisions that are sort of opening up, so that we could almost be a waypoint for people to come to Wynyard, park and go through to Burnie. Or we've got a big industrial estate that seems to be growing. You know, we've done the walkthrough of Blackley Pipes, and obviously everyone's sort of doing well in our municipality, which means to me, I think, we've already got sort of shortage of parking in the CBD because of everybody coming here. With the new subdivisions, I think that, you know, wherever they got their bucket of money, if we could get a look in for some parking for our new municipality, that'd be really good if we could bring that to a workshop and discuss that.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney.
Through you, Mayor, in relation to parking, amongst the reams of documents you've received for your budget and annual plan, we do have a proposed action for the next financial year. As it's written in the document, it's to undertake a review of CBD parking provision and compliance. So to those very points that you raised, Councillor Courtney, around future provision, controls that are existing in place, and all the different options that may come from a parking review, if you like. Very clearly not paid parking, but parking provision and compliance is the measure. So that is currently listed as a...
we're kicking other councils' butts. Like, we're going to need a parking structure. We're going to need a 3-story thing somewhere so people can come into town and travel to Burnie. Like, we need to look at big money to build a structure. Just in my opinion, if we could bring it to a workshop.
Yeah, so we will, as part of that process. So that review will undertake, and that will be... I'll have to take your first question on notice in relation to the whistleblowing and...
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Courtney, and our General Manager. Are there any further questions? No further questions. Moving on to item 8, notice of motion. 8.1, Councillor Raw, the turning lane, Old Bass Highway and Watershed Access Road. So there's a motion before you. Councillor Raw, would you like to read out that motion?
Yes, the motion is that council explore the feasibility of adding a turning right lane at the junction of Old Bass Highway and the Watershed Access Road for traffic travelling west.
And that you are moving that motion, Councillor
Yes,
Raw.
I'd like to move that motion.
Could I have a seconder, please?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Deputy Mayor Edwards is seconding that motion. Councillor Raw, would you like to provide a bit of background information, please?
Yeah, I think what's written there just explains it, and I don't need to go into it any further. But what I'm basically interested is that we get the opportunity to find out how much it would cost to put the turning lane there, and then if we could, as a council, discuss, does the addition of the turning lane for safety and better traffic flow warrant the cost and inconvenience of the works? Because I'm aware that if it has a high priority and it's put in for a job, something else will move down the list of things to do. So I'm just interested as a group whether we could discuss that and come up with an informed decision.
Thank you, Councillor Raw. Are there any further speakers to this motion, please? Deputy Mayor Edwards.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question first, and then is this a high accident area, meaning a safety issue, or more so so the traffic doesn't back up? Like, what are your reasons more so around?
Well, I think it would be both. But I don't know how many accidents have been there. But I should say, being high concentration and people turning and no way to undertake, that it could be a safety issue as well as the backing up.
So at the moment, I can see in the reading the motion, this will be a high cost to our budget, to our area, which I believe doesn't need a right-hand turning lane. So I don't feel strongly to support this motion. I understand in events traffic would be slow and hard for traffic to turn right, but it would be a high traffic anyway when there were like lots of big events happening anyway. Maybe a suggestion, if this motion doesn't get up, is where there are large events, that we could put a signage at that intersection for cars to go up and turn at the roundabout and come back and do a left turn at that. But at the moment, I don't think we're keeping pretty good with our budget, and I don't think it's too huge, like that if traffic are backing up, then that's okay for a few short, like minute or so while they get through the traffic. I haven't heard of it being an issue, but there seems to be like a lot of work there for the cost that it may turn out to be.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edwards. Councillor Courtney.
Can I actually make a motion to bring this to a workshop and defer it tonight? Because the way it is, I'm not going to support it. So I think, from the sounds of Councillor Edwards, perhaps this could use some further discussion.
Yes, I will accept the motion that you're putting forward, Councillor Courtney, to defer this motion and have it brought to a workshop. Is that your motion?
I'll second that.
We're just at this point. I need a seconder. Thank you. Councillor Bramich, are you seconding that motion?
I will second it. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Bramich.
Just a point of clarification, we've already got a motion on the books, and now you've got two. I don't know how you're going to deal with it.
A motion to defer the motion.
Okay, so the matter, we're asking that the matter be deferred, which is a legitimate motion. We obviously do have two motions, so I think we will need to deal with the deferring of the motion first. Yes, okay. No discussion. I've been advised no discussion on this matter, and I'm going to put the motion, so it is that the matter be deferred and brought to a workshop for further discussion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Councillor Courtney, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Bramich. Those against the motion? Deputy Mayor Edwards, Councillor Raw, Councillor Hyland and myself. The motion is lost. We go back to the original motion, and I think Councillor Roberts, you are wanting to speak to that motion.
I just actually will credit Councillor Raw for actually taking the initiative to actually look at something like this, and going forward, as Councillor Courtney has made comment to before, that our region is growing, traffic is growing, there's more houses being built, there's a lot more traffic. While I cannot state that this is right or wrong, I love the idea of the motion that we explore the feasibility of it. So whether it's realistic or not, I think it's a really good idea to actually explore all avenues of potential ways that we can actually look at our infrastructure, and in that regard, I'm actually happy to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there Councillor Hyland?
I'll certainly speak in favour of the motion, and just reading in the officer's comments, the preliminary assessment has been made against Oz Roads Guide to Road Design Part 4A. And from this preliminary assessment, it is highly likely that the warrant for a turn facility at this location exists. So if it exists, it can get done under all those rules of Oz Roads regulations, and it's a real safety issue. I just can't comprehend that we're not looking at safety in this aspect with the build-up of traffic. Particularly, they've stated the fact that we're going to have more cars coming and going out of that area. Why wouldn't we be looking at a safe turning lane? But anyway, that's my view, and I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Councillor Courtney.
I'm going to be against the motion. I would rather have brought it to a workshop and discussed options before we looked at paying for a feasibility study. I'm not happy at this stage to fund something to look at that area, knowing that we have a lot of people from a very older generation straight across from that area. So slowing down traffic there, I'm quite happy with traffic being slowed down. I think that's a good area for them to be slowed down coming into town. So I would have liked to have looked to, as I say, talk to staff. I don't want to go and fund a feasibility study, particularly if it's not necessary and we could find a way just through talking to staff, bring it to workshop.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Mr. Summers, would you like to add comments, please?
Thanks through you, Mayor. I thought it might be useful to add where some discussion had been had around what would the purpose of a turn lane be. If the motion was successful, staff internally would look to undertake an assessment which would include accident history, further detailed assessment of the warrant or not for a turn facility and those types of matters. We would certainly be able to gain an understanding of the cost of the works, and then council could make a decision from that whether to proceed or not. But I think it's largely something that could be looked at and further information provided with in-house resourcing. So.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. You have a question, Councillor Courtney?
Does that mean we don't have to pay a consultant to do a feasibility study?
For you, Mayor, look, for the purpose of understanding or for the purpose of exploring it and what the cost would be, no, not at this stage. Certainly if it got up to be funded for a budget, we would do well to have a traffic engineer, an external person, assess the detailed design drawings, but for the purpose of undertaking feasibility, no. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Are there any further speakers? You've spoken already, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers against the motion? Are there any further speakers for the motion, which is the council explore the feasibility of adding a turning right lane at the junction of Old Bass Highway and the Watershed Access Road for traffic travelling west? Councillor Bramage.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I'm happy with the motion as it sits at this stage. I'd like to see it as a workshop as well. I guess if we got the road a bit further, where do we stop? Do we do the same thing where you turn into the wharf? I guess we've got to draw the line somewhere of how far we can go and where we stop. But I'm quite happy to have this come to a workshop, and as the director says, he can have some costs for us and then we can make the decision from there. And I guess we're all about road safety.
Thank you, Councillor Bramage. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I'm going to speak for the motion. As for no cost of feasibility study, I think it's just a no-brainer, and we can get our guys to have a really good look at it, and I'm going to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. At this point, I am going to put the motion. So all those in favour, would you please raise your hands? Deputy Mayor Edwards, Councillor Bramage, Councillor Courtney, Councillor Raw, Councillor Hyland, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Roberts and myself. Carried unanimously. Item 9, Reports of Officers and Committees, 9.1, Annual Plan and Budget Estimates 2024 to 25. The recommendation is for the adoption of the annual plan, and there are 3 rather large parts to this motion, and please note item 3, the rates resolution, should follow through with numbers 3.1 onwards. Could I have a mover for this particular motion, please?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts, could I have a seconder, please?
Seconded.
Councillor Hyland, Councillor Roberts, would you like to open the debate or discussion?
Just a real quick, I just want to say something real quickly is undertaking to actually do the annual plan is a mammoth undertaking of our staff, and the comprehension in there and how comprehensive it is in nature and the details in there. I just want to credit our staff at our council for the excellent job they do as elite professionals in delivering this, and I'm very confident in to motion to move this and actually say that, you know, I'm very proud of the work they've done, and I believe, you know, it starts on page 20 of this agenda. I'd encourage the public just to have a quick look at 3 parts the Mayor is discussing, and it should give them a little bit of an oversight of what will be adopted. So I just want to credit our staff for that. I truly think that in regards to local government in Tasmania, we are the very cream of the crop, and without the staff we have, I don't believe that would be the case. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any speakers against this motion? Are there further speakers for the motion, please? Councillor Hyland?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, what can I say? With a probably lowest in the state rate increase of 2.95 and a very good surplus of about 841k, I think we've nailed it again, and particularly as the Mayor noted in the local advocate, the 9th consecutive surplus, which will be a long-standing record, I think, and it's a credit to everyone in the council, included. A very good job, and just on the surplus, and I noted in a bit of detail there that it's actually there for a purpose. Obviously, if there's it's a very generous one. A lot of people have sort of asked, well, why couldn't we not have a rate rise? And that would have been an obvious question. But any overruns on jobs or whatever throughout the year, instead of coming back to council and say, hey, we need another 40 grand here and 20 there, and we've got to go through all that, it's there, done and dusted, and very good management, and which we've come to expect for a long time. So I'll certainly support the motion and congratulate everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Are there any further speakers to this motion? I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.2, Rates and Charges Policy Review. The recommendation is that Council adopt the revised Rates and Charges Policy as presented.
So moved.
Councillor Courtney, could I have a seconder, please?
Seconded.
Councillor Roberts seconded that motion. Councillor Courtney, would you like to open the debate, please?
No debate. I'd like to be very brief. Thank you to our staff. You've done a magnificent job. I've been here 5 years, and I don't think there's been a year that we haven't had the best annual rates increase in probably the state, and we've continually delivered for it. So thank you very much to our staff. I'd like to note that in my personal experience, good management, strategic planning comes from a good general manager, from a good board of directors. So I think that what we've done here, having some of the lowest rates increases in the state and still being able to deliver the projects that we deliver and add the jobs on to your roles that you do. You just sort of do things off the side of your chair, and I appreciate that as a councillor. I think my other fellow councillors appreciate that. And I'd like to say thank you to my fellow elected members as well, because us being mindful, I can't tell the community how much Mr. Bramage here advocates for low rates and wants to never ever give anybody ever a rates increase. and doesn't worry about the fact that we still have to pay for things. So I think it's a credit to our local councillors that we've been mindful of the fact that our communities are in an economic crisis. Their electricity's going up, their water's going up, their rents are going up, their food's going up, and here we are trying to do the very best to keep our rates down because we listen to our community. So thank you to my fellow elected members, and thank you to the body of work done by our staff that allows our community to have some of the lowest rates and some of the best return for those rates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Councillor Roberts.
Firstly, credit to Councillor Courtney for those words. I find they're very accurate reflection of the work that he's done here at this council. I just want to follow up with what you've just said and with what Councillor Highlander said in regards to the rates. All right, so this is definitely the second straight year that we've had the lowest rates rise in the state. It goes to show that it's a fine line between productivity and sustainability, and somehow our council manages to deliver the most whilst spending the least or saving the most, right? So it goes to show that our senior staff here and all the staff at council take it very seriously about how our constituents live their lives and how they afford to live in this wonderful region. And the amount of projects, the capital works on the go at the moment, and to provide a surplus and the lowest rates rise in the state is almost unheard of. And it's the work that's going on here is quite innovative, and it's very viable and sustainable. And I can see our community being set up for the next 50 years, all of our communities in this region, because of the wise and sound and prudent management of our staff in this council. And I truly believe that our senior management, board of directors are the envy of the state. I think that you people could work anywhere in this country and you would do an excellent job, and we're very lucky to have all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any speakers against this particular motion? Any further speakers for the motion? Councillor Bramage.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited about it. Been around the table and seen a few budgets come and go. I can recall 25 years ago we wasn't in this position. We was the other way with the debt. But I believe we've come a long way. And this is probably 1 year that I haven't had to say no so many times. Said it a couple, but I can recall our last budget workshop. The general manager was online. We went round the room and asked, was everybody happy? And I said, yes. I said, how could I not be happy? And then I heard this bang, and I think he fell off the chair at home when I said that. Anyhow, just a little bit of humour. It can't be all serious. But I'm more than happy, and I can justify this to the ratepayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bramage, for that little bit of humour. If there are no further speakers for or against the motion, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.3, reflect Reconciliation Action Plan draft. The recommendation is that Council approve the draft Reflect Reconciliation Action Plan actions to be sent to Reconciliation Australia for approval, and upon approval from Reconciliation Australia, proceed to public consultation. Could
So
I have
moved.
a mover? Councillor Courtney moved. Could I have a second,
Seconded.
please? Councillor Roberts seconded the motion. Councillor Courtney, would you like to open the debate, please?
Hopefully there won't be debate. I think it's great that we're actually sort of doing work in this area. I was disappointed to see that when we put it out on social media, it didn't exactly bring out the best in us. But I think that's why it's important what we're doing, to change the conversation so that people actually read it and see what it's about, and that it's not being taken out of context and used to divide the community. Hopefully they will look and see that the wording is trying to unite the community and better understand our history and the culture of our area. So I think it's great that we're doing work in this area, and you know, I'd like to say that social media often is a minority of the worst of us, and that the majority of the community are more understanding, more respectful, and that we can do some really good work in this area.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Are there any further speakers, please? Councillor Roberts.
I just actually really want to credit the work of Lucy Taylor from Waratah Wynyard Council for all her work on this, as well as our consultant Marina Campbell. They've done a mountain of work on this, a mountain of research, and there's been a lot of effort put into this. This is not some token document that our council feels we must put out to fit to social norms or standards. This council was well ahead of it with the Reconciliation Action Plan, obviously with the childcare, and we've been years ahead of this. And the quality work that's been placed into this, again, it's just I cannot credit the staff enough. It goes to show how innovative we are at this council and how proactive we are. And I just want people to know, as an Indigenous person myself, that this is not a token document. This is something that is very important going forward in our community. And as Councillor Courtney's just stated, I believe it'll be an important part of the process of learning for everyone going forward and actually doing what this document states we will do. So thank you very much.
To 2027. The recommendation is that the Council adopt the Communication and Engagement Strategy 2024 to 2027. Could I have a mover for that motion, please?
I'd like to move that motion, please.
Councillor Raw has moved.
Seconded.
Councillor Hyland seconded the motion. Councillor Raw, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would. This is a very powerful document for Council, as it has the depth and capacity to guide Council staff and councillors to work with the community in the best possible ways to achieve the best possible outcomes together. Since coming onto Council 2 years ago, what I see now is an extremely dedicated but very diverse group of councillors and council staff. But we always seem to have one goal in mind, and that is that we want the best for the community that we live and work in. But often we can differ in our ideas on how we get to achieve that goal. The ways we currently work with community, engage with community, can often be varied and diverse also. But getting back to the document points out that communication is the core of everything we do. We believe that by having robust communication and engagement practices, and by encouraging open conversations and interactions on local issues, we will improve our service delivery and help inform, engage and connect with our community. The document points that out very specifically. The document goes on and it has highlights on communication principles, communication engagement principles, and there's a framework on how to achieve those principles. So also included are 5 objectives that the Council will work towards. The objectives are to improve improve reach and engagement, be more accessible, be brand proud, build organisational capacity, and be sustainable and transparent. There are many interesting actions linked under all of the objectives that the Council will work towards, but there are 2 highlights for me. The first one is that Waratah Wynyard Council will develop a communication and engagement toolkit for staff and councillors to use when working within the community. And the second one is developing a flowchart that outlines each step in a community engagement process. So both these will definitely lead to more consistency. So both council and councillors and staff have always engaged in communicating with the community in a huge variety of ways. The communication and engagement strategy pulls all this together to be a way of working and a way of working together. And so we'll move forward in informing, engaging and connecting with community. So Council, through this policy, is committed to communicating and engaging with community in the best possible ways. It's a great achievement and it'll be ongoing work. I would like to thank Rachel Burgess for everything that she's done in working and presenting this policy to Council. So I think we definitely are committed to getting the best when we work with our community. We want to improve our outcomes. We want to get the best for everybody that lives in this community. But it's a two-way process, and it's not only what Council does, it's around how the community can engage with us as councillors and council staff. And so just in closing, I'd like to say there are 4 things that I would really encourage community to do in being able to engage in the most effective way with us. The first one was bring your ideas and concepts forward in a non-aggressive way, a really helpful way to work with no aggression. The second one is seek to understand the laws, the rules and policies that direct council work, because often they sit behind and I don't want to say limit, but direct council in where they can move. The third one is be open to learning about and accepting other people's ideas and concepts. And the fourth one is work with the team and be a team, and remember that it's power with and not power over.
Thank you, Councillor Raw. Are there any further speakers against this motion, for the motion? Councillor Roberts.
Just to follow up on what Councillor Raw just said, I do, again, that was my only comment really, was about commending Rachel Burgess with her work on this document. Now, I'm a bit of a document lover. I've seen a lot of documents in my time, and the quality of this document, the way it's presented, the way it's put together, it's actually quite easy to read. It's a pretty document, if I may say so, and it really goes to show the standard of our council and the things that we do deliver. Its presentation is excellent, the message that's in there is excellent, and again, just all credit to the staff for that. They've done an incredible job on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers? If there are no further speakers to this motion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.5, Strategic Asset Management Plan. The recommendation is that Council adopt the Strategic Asset Management Plan for 2024.
So moved.
Councillor Courtney is moving.
Seconded.
Councillor Roberts seconded the motion. Councillor Courtney, would you like to open the discussion or debate, please?
I actually got right into this document, and sometimes Councillor Roberts and I go over the council agenda together, and we're very nerdy. This is an excellent product from our engineering department. We've got excellent asset management, and asset management is really important. It's a critical part of good management of the council businesses, and this is where a lot of councils have failed. So I'm so glad that we have been so exceptional in our engineering department and our asset management people. This is an excellent plan, and I was really excited to read this, and I think it's really great that we're getting all our road structures in a hierarchy, and this is allowing us to plan better, because good asset management actually allows us to financially plan better. So good job, and thanks very much to the team that's put this together.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Are there any further speakers to this motion? Councillor Roberts.
Well, just to follow on from what Councillor Courtney said, again, I agree with that sentiment. We're a little bit nerdy, and we do like these sort of documents and going through them to understand what is actually going on at this council. And it's almost unfair to mention anyone because there'd be so many people involved in it. But again, there's staff members at this council, such as Jonathan Linden and Murray Jamieson, that people might not know who they are because they don't really see them as often, because they're quite often buried under a mountain of paperwork trying to get these sort of things sorted. Now, there's a statement, there's a part in here about, Waratah Wynyard Council is responsible for the acquisition, operation, maintenance, renewal and disposal of an extensive range of physical assets with a replacement value in excess of $353 million. So it goes to show the scope of the operation here. It goes to show the amount of assets that our communities do own. It goes to show how well our council is actually doing, and to keep track of $353 million worth of plant and equipment, assets and buildings is just a mammoth undertaking. So again, staff such as Jonathan and also Murray and everyone that helps them is doing an amazing job. It's almost an impossible job, and again, the clarity that is provided by these documents, I cannot stress enough to the community members to actually look at what we're actually doing and read these documents, and it'll give them a lot of answers that we quite often get asked as councillors, and in the words of the people that are literally experts in these fields. So I just want to credit them. They don't get seen, they probably don't get recognised enough, but we all as councillors and we all as staff at the council, the staff at the council understand the amazing job these people do, and we're very fortunate to have them, so I just want them to get their chocolates.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Raw.
I'd just like to just point out three things that I felt very glad that were in the document. Under the risk section, there was referral to the Disability Discrimination Act and bringing, making sure buildings are in line with that. The key systems, which are an incredible amount of security on the assets, and the flooding and erosion that was addressed and talked about. So I think it's future. We can see that the future is planned for and it's financed. So I'm glad for those futuristic parts of the document.
Thank you, Councillor Raw. Are there any further speakers to Councillor Highland?
Thanks, Madam Chair. The fact that our financial system comes into play very much so here, that it's very pleasing and reassuring that we know that we've got the money to replace all our assets on the time that they're due to be replaced. And that's very critical, and we're in a good position to do that. Congratulations to all.
Thank you, Councillor Highland, for pointing that out. A very valid point. Are there any further speakers to this motion? Any speakers against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.6, rollout of food organics and garden organics, FOGO collection communications update. And Deputy Mayor Edwards has left the room at 6:46. There is a recommendation before you, councillors, that council note the report from the Cradle Coast Waste Management Group, which details the food organics and garden organics communications activities undertaken to date. Could I have a mover for that motion?
So moved.
Councillor Courtney, could I have a seconder, please?
Second.
Councillor Johnson. Councillor Courtney.
That's all right. We're just noting the report. I don't need to enter debate over that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson, did you wish to... Any further speakers to this motion?
Give it a go. Yeah, look, it's getting very close, and I think the council's doing a really good job getting out there, and there's a lot more to come, a lot more information. And there are the odd one or two that are sort of tending on bucking the system, but I think overall the big majority is in favour of it. And the fact that it is getting the stuff out of landfill, and I think that's the phrase you got to use all the time. It's very important that that's what we're about, is to get it out of there and get it in its right place. So, no, congratulations on the staff and the stuff that's going out, and there's a lot more to go. Good job.
Thank you, Councillor Highland. Have you spoken, Councillor Roberts? No. Go right ahead.
No, I haven't. So, look, just following up on what Councillor Highland's just said, just for anyone that's perhaps a little bit critical of this, there's many reasons why council has done this, and also the councils have all gone in together on this, and many of which have to do with the state government's waste management levy and the increase in prices. Again, this is not an attempt from our council to take more and provide less. You know, it's definitely trying to get ahead of an issue that will become a major issue over the next several years, and to do so in a way that is cost effective for our community and also can help us deliver on the objectives as a community and as a region, as a council, in terms of our recycling and our food and organic matter. I believe that this will have, if implemented correctly, and if people really try and work with us on this one, I do believe that this will be a very positive change to our way we handle our waste management. And again, I'm looking forward to a better future for everyone and a more viable future, so especially naturally. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers for or against this motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 9.7, Auditor General Report on the financial statements of state entities. The recommendation is that Council note the Auditor General's report on the financial statements of state entities tabled in Parliament on the 23rd of May 2024. Could I
So
have a mover?
moved.
Councillor Courtney, could I have a seconder, please?
Seconded.
Councillor Highland seconded the motion. Councillor Courtney, do you wish to speak to this?
I know it's a report that we just need to note, but what I'd also like to note in this report is that the local government sector has an underlying surplus of 3.1 million. It appears we're running our budget a lot better than the state government.
Thank you for that, Councillor Courtney. Are there any further comments, please, from the floor about this particular report? Councillor Hyland.
Yeah, it's sort of the report certainly puts Waratah Wynyard up in the limelight again. Well, with a few statistics that have obviously crossed the floor tonight already in some cases, but just, you know, they've really congratulated our council, and we're the highest, the best of the rural councils, yeah, which is a fair achievement throughout the state, given our size. But yeah, it's there's nothing too much there that we don't know. 5 out of the 10 urban-based councils had a surplus position in 22-23, compared with only 9 out of 19 rural-based councils. And it's pleasing to see Waratah Wynyard was one of the 9 rural councils to have a surplus. So, yeah, we've sort of, it's just everywhere you go now that we're up there, because we're doing such a really tremendous job with everything we do in the council, and that stems down from the General Manager and his team. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Deputy Mayor Edwards returned at 6:51. Yes, you're quite right, Councillor Hyland. We are the best rural council in Tasmania, and we've got a lot to be proud of. So I thank all of you as councillors, but also the staff. So we're a good team. Councillor Roberts.
Look, again, I'll just to piggyback on the back of what Councillor Hyland has stated. It's nice for us to sit up here and say nice things about the staff and the management, and say nice things about the councillors. And when you read reports like this, you get to see numbers and tangible evidence of why that is the case. So I'm a big believer in evidence of a job well done. And when you look at these reports, you'll note that the numbers are there, the facts are there. You know, again, it's very tangible evidence. And when I read these things as a documents nerd, like Councillor Courtney has described as adequately, you know, I'm really very, very impressed by this council. You know, the deficit for rural councils in Tasmania is 5.340 million collectively, whereas our councillors, Councillor Hyland stated before, his surplus of 841k. I think it's actually 842. And so, you know, it goes to show the performance of our finance sector in this council, and the ability of our senior management and the ability of our finance department. And you know, 841, 842, it's a massive turnaround from the collective deficit of the other rural councils. And the one thing I would disagree with is that we're the best performing rural council in Tasmania. I think we're just the best performing council in general. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers to this motion, please? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.8, Auditor General Report on Private Works. There's a recommendation before you, councillors, that council note the Auditor General's report on private works and adopt the private works policy as presented. Councillor Courtney.
So moved.
Could I have a seconder, please?
Second it.
Councillor Hyland. Councillor Courtney, would you like to...
Just a report for noting. I'm happy to just note and move on.
Thank you. Councillor Hyland.
Oh, just note that Waratah Wynyard Council has not completed private work since May 1920, with a directive from the GM. And I think, yeah, there was a little bit all around that, and it's been no drama since. We haven't had to worry about it. Good job.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Are there any further speakers to this motion, for or against? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Carried unanimously. (9.9) Seabrook Road speed reduction request. recommendation that Council proceed with seeking the support and approval of the Transport Commissioner to reduce the speed limit of Seabrook Road to 80 kilometres an hour. Could I have a mover for this particular motion, please?
Yes, so moved.
Councillor Bramich, could I have a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Johnson. Councillor Bramich, would you like to speak to this motion?
Oh, just very briefly, we had some commentary about the reduction in speed limit, and I certainly don't disagree with it. And I think it's one of the roads that 80 kilometres an hour is completely fast enough on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bramich. Are there any further speakers? Deputy Mayor Edwards.
Sorry. Yes, I noticed there were like 52 letters sent out and only a 13.5% return on the responses. So it's just disappointing in that others hadn't responded. Normally under those circumstances, it's hard to kind of like, get a feel for what's, what we should do sort of thing. But yeah, under these circumstances, with the safety aspects on our regional roads, I think we need to support this. So, yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edwards. Councillor Courtney.
I agree. I think that we need to look at the safety of our rural roads because we're sort of increasing our community all the time and there's more and more houses along those roads. And I've been approached by a member of the community that has now requested that we look at Deep Creek off the back of Don Seabrook. So if we could bring that to a workshop.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. I'm sure it will be noted. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Johnson.
Totally agree on this. 80 is a very, I'd even like to go one step further and bring it down to 70 because these roads that people travel on, some of the roads there that the people travel on, tourists and all that, are not knowing the roads and they are dangerous. They're narrow. So 80 is a start, but watch your space. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. I just, again, I agree with what the other councillors are saying. I just really want to state here, I want to actually give, while all of us, we definitely care about these things, we definitely look into them, they are important to us as councillors, but I just want to take a second here to credit Councillor Bramich for how vigilant he is about this sort of stuff. Now, you don't get to see the meetings, the workshops, the private workshops. Now, Councillor Bramich, as Councillor Courtney before, is always champion, and we want the lowest rates. He refuses to hit the pocket of the worker and stuff like this too. Everything from road shoulders to overgrowth to weeds on the side of the road to the speed limits. Councillor Gary Bramich is an absolute champion of these things and the regional areas and the rural areas. He's always doing his absolute utmost to ensure that we deliver the best standard. I know he's probably had a few different agreements with the Transport Commission about what certain roads should be or whatever, and I actually agree with Councillor Bramich on those. I think he's absolutely spot on with these, and we're very lucky again to have Councillor Bramich champion these things because his years of experience here is completely invaluable, and I'm always happy to defer to Councillor Bramich in these matters because of his experience, and we're very lucky. So thank you very much, Councillor Bramich.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers, please? If there are no further speakers, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 9.10, realignment addressing Walker Street, Wynyard. Councillor Raw is leaving the chambers at 6:58. There is a recommendation before you, councillors, that council adopt option number 3 as outlined to use June Close as the new datum point for Walker Street.
So moved.
Councillor Bramich has moved. Councillor Hyland seconded that motion. Councillor Bramich, would you like to speak to this motion?
Just very briefly, I'm pleased we can finish with this off tonight as well. The situation has been in front of us, how it is now, it's a no-brainer, it's got to happen, and I think there'll be identifications put there so people will know where Walker Street starts and the other one starts. So I'm quite happy with the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Bramage. Councillor Highland?
Councillor Courtney's got it.
Councillor Courtney?
Just yeah, just was a bit of a long way around to get to where we needed to be, but I think the residents are fairly happy with the response they got from council and the way they went about the whole process in the finish, and everybody's happy about the decision, so I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Highland. Councillor Courtney?
I initially was opposed. I wanted to go with the first recommendation that the council gave us because safety and legislation are my bread and butter, and my brain just works like that. But bringing it to the workshop and meeting this compromise that doesn't compromise safety but allows us to actually hear and meet with the community and give them what they need while not compromising, what was important to us, that be a safety, sort of measure first. I think that's a good outcome for everyone, and because I've been given that new information, I'm happy now to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Deputy Mayor Edwards?
The feedback on this was fantastic, 56%. Many ways of communicating with residents in that area that council staff have done, so that's really good. Just for noting, we need to do better in this space in the future. These renaming roads seem to bring us undone every time, and we seem to come back each time. So I think we either need to ask more questions, or to say, are we sure, when we're in our workshops and that, to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the area, or, how can we go about it before we put it to a vote? So we're not in this again, or in this situation like this for the Walker Street guys.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edwards, for the valid points that you have raised. Councillor Roberts?
Look, I just want to state too again what Councillor Courtney stated about legislation, certain rules we have, certain things we have to do. Now, a lot of these things aren't personal, they're not directed at anyone, it's just as it's legislated. So I must really commend the residents of Walker Street and Mr. Walker Spears over there that have literally brought this to us and really had their voice heard. And again, I follow up with what Councillor Courtney said about sometimes just bringing it back to workshop and a bit more information is actually good for us. I'm all for it. The more we can do that, the better off. I want to hear different viewpoints. I want to hear opposing views. I want to know who's happy with what. As councillors, we really do represent our region. We represent our communities and we represent the residents. And I think it's important that we understand exactly what they want out of us, and clarity and transparency in how we're delivering those objectives. And again, as if the residents of Walker Street are happy, then so am I. So I just want to commend them for organising and very, very, in the right way to do it. They've actually made it something happen positively for themselves that they wanted. And as a councillor, I'm just so happy to just go with that, because again, it's important that our residents are valued, and we try to not interrupt their lives as much as we can. And I understand the implications of something that they were facing and the difficulties of it. So as a councillor, I hope that this shows other members of our community that we're actually quite happy to compromise, and we're happy to listen, and that there is transparency involved, and that we do want to actually please the constituents of our region and make sure that they think we're doing a good job. And that's why I just stated at the start, I just want them to know it's never personal. It's just us figuring our way through it as it's legislated. So credit to the staff, credit to the public that we could get together on this one and come to a suitable conclusion that's a compromise for everyone. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers for or against this motion? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillor Highland, would you? Oh, thank you, Mr. Spears. Councillor Raw returned at 7:04. Item 9.11, Quarterly Information Report, Organisational Performance. The recommendation that Council note the Quarterly Information Report for the Office of the General Manager and Organisational Performance Department as of the 31st of May 2024. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councillor Courtney. Councillor Roberts seconded the motion. Councillor Courtney.
Another one that's just for noting, but I will again just note something, that 8.5 is the average turnover of employees, and our employees are so happy we've got, 3.2% I think it was. Pretty low turnover rate, given that the ABS is 8.5. So good job to the council for having, obviously, a really good culture, because we don't have a high staff turnover, and the costs associated with retraining staff and having high staff turnover can it can genuinely cripple a business. That's what's happening in a lot of the state departments at the moment. So the retention of staff saves us money. Good job to this council for being able to be so far below the national average.
Thank you for your positive comments, Councillor Courtney. Councillor Roberts.
Just following up on what Councillor Courtney's just said, coincidentally 8.5 is the average number of years of service for our staff at this council. So it goes to show that we're not only retaining the staff, we're retaining them for a long time. And that really does, as Councillor Courtney said, shows a really positive culture. People don't leave jobs, they leave bosses, right? So it's they leave management, but they don't leave our management, which goes to show the quality of these individuals that are sitting here. I sound like a broken record. I would say every time these come up, I say please to the public, please look at them and please read them. The statistical analysis and the statistical data in there, as I alluded to before, it shows tangible evidence of why we credit these people and the job they do. Our staff don't just come to work every day and mail it in. They literally come in and do the best job in this state, if not in this whole entire country. We are very, very lucky to have them, and I truly believe that if the public started looking through some of these documents, they'd start finding data and answers to questions they have, and it actually, I truly believe, would impress them. So, huge credit to everyone. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it greatly.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers, please, to this motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.12, Policy Review, Council Properties Boundary Fence Policy. The recommendation is that Council adopt the revised Council Properties Boundary Fencing Policy as presented.
So
Councillor
moved.
Hyland, you're moving the motion. Deputy Mayor Edwards seconded the motion. Councillor Hyland, would you like to speak to this motion, please?
Just a very basic policy, standard, pretty much all round. Happy to support it.
Thank you. Are there any further speakers to this motion? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.13 is the Senior Management Report. Recommendation that Council note the monthly Senior Management Report and rescinding the Playground Management Policy PR 009. Could I have a mover for that motion, please?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Deputy Mayor Edwards. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to open a debate or discussion, please?
Just the same statement I make every time. Again, I'd highly encourage everyone to read these and take note of the information in there, because it's so comprehensive. It'll give our constituents a fair idea of what senior management's doing. The data in these reports is absolutely comprehensive, down to how many views we've had, where we're up to with our projects, exactly where we're at. There's photographic evidence of such, and any one of these reports that have been moved, I would highly recommend, as we note them, to encourage everyone to read them and see exactly what we're up to and keep us accountable. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers to this motion, please? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.14 Financial Management Report for the period ended 31st of May 2024. The recommendation is that Council note the financial report for the period ended 31st of May 2024. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts,
Seconded.
Councillor Courtney. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Look, just again, I'd say the identical thing I've just said for 9.13. So, again, highly recommended to look at. The data is very comprehensive, and just I'd encourage everyone to really take ownership of their communities and really have a look at these reports. And again, we believe in the transparency. We want open lines of communication, and these documents are one way of doing that. They take a lot of work to do, and it'd be remiss for the communities not to actually read them and actually have a really good look through them. And it's really the public's money, and the way we manage that is second to none. So I want them to know exactly how we do that and why we do it, and the goals and the objectives that we have, and also the legislative requirements. So I really cannot commend this council enough. I appreciate all the work that Mitchell Smith and our finance department do. They do an incredible job. They educate us constantly, and we're still learning as well, and we're very fortunate to have people like Mitchell. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers to this motion, please? If not, I'll put the motion, Councillor Brewer.
I was just wondering whether I could ask a clarification question of Mr. Smith or Mitchell Smith. Outstanding rates in 23 were 5.2%, and then in 24 it's 3.07%. So is there any strategy, or is that that has made that improve, or is that just one of those things, you know?
Yeah. Through you, Mayor. Council staff in the rate space have certainly had a concerted effort over the last 12 months, in particular, to really have as a focus area in rates debt collection. Certainly, and sort of following up ratepayers, getting ratepayers into arrangements where they've significantly fell behind, and we've really targeted those ratepayers who have significant arrears in that space. It's pleasing, as you've noted in the report, to see that is working, and we are starting to see that bear fruit in the amount of debt that we do have. So it certainly has, over the last 12 months, been a focus area for us. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Are there any further questions or comments, discussion around this particular motion, please? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.15 minutes of other bodies and committees. 9.15.1 notes of the Waratah Community Board meeting held on the 31st of May 2024. A recommendation that Council receives the notes from the Waratah Community Board meeting held on Friday the 31st of May. Councillor Hyland?
So moved.
Thank you. Councillor Hyland has moved. Could I have a second?
Seconded.
Councillor Roberts has seconded this motion. Councillor Hyland, do you wish to make comments?
Oh, just that we had an interesting presentation by the Bluestone group in regard to their undertaking of the rehab work that's going to happen at Mount Bischoff over the next 2 years, I think, or 3 maybe. There's a fair bit of work to do, and they're interested in helping out in regard to some of the old historic stuff that's still attached for the power station, the original power station, which is down on that eastern side of the mountain. So yeah, very good. And we'll keep you up to date as it goes through. They're going to give us an update as they go. So
thank you, Councillor Hyland. Are there any further comments or questions regarding Councillor Roberts?
Well, actually, I just want to quickly credit the work that Councillor Hyland's done in Waratah. He's been doing it a very long time, and we've seen the progress in Waratah, and especially credit to the community members that make up the community board and all the other members of the community that are so proactive in trying to make things happen down there. We definitely have a respect for Waratah and its historical tradition, and it's its own place down there, and it's literally one of the best hidden gems in this whole entire country, and the people down there are amazing. And again, there's a lot of good work going on down there, and I'd really hope that anyone in our municipal region would actually take the time to get down there and see how far it has progressed. It's a beautiful town, it's got great people, and a credit to the work that Councillor Hyland has done with the community board.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further comments on this motion, please? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 10, matters proposed for consideration in the closed meeting. The recommendation is that the Council resolves by an absolute majority that the matters listed below be considered in the closed meeting. Could I have a mover, please?
So
Councillor
moved.
Roberts, could I have a seconder?
I'll
Deputy Mayor
second it.
Edwards. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 11 is closure of the meeting to the public. The recommendation is that the Council resolves by an absolute majority that go into closed meeting to consider the following matters. Could I have a mover for that motion, please?
So moved.
Councillor Johnson
Second that.
and Councillor Bramich seconded the motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. The open meeting closed at 7:15.